The Clash at Daytona was a preseason exhibition event preceding the Daytona 500, part of what's known today as Speed Weeks. Established in 1979, the race was the brainchild of Monty Roberts, then brand manager of Busch Beer. In essence, the race was just a glorified marketing scheme in order to promote the brand. Initially, the Clash started as a 50-mile sprint race pitting all of the previous season's pole winners against each other. This earned it the moniker the fastest race of the season. Over the years, the race distance and field size were expanded, eventually evolving into a 75-lap shootout consisting of anywhere between 17 and 25 cars. In its latter years, though, it lost a lot of its prestige. Most races during this era were single-file freight trains for the first three quarters before turning into crapshoots at the end. No race during this era perfectly encapsulates the fall of the Clash quite like the 2020 iteration of the event. Hands down, the worst Clash ever run in its history, and the race that eventually led to the death of the Clash at Daytona altogether. The 2020 Busch Clash was held on February 9th. It ran for 88 laps instead of the usual 75 due to several overtimes, which I'll get into later. 18 cars enter the race. Less than half of them would end up finishing. The race started just like any other Clash during that era, 2 and 3 wide pack racing before calming down into a single-file freight train. The race was mostly uneventful, apart from an Erik Jones pit road mishap where he overshot his pit stall. I want you to remember that name for me, Erik Jones. Keep it in the back of your head for the rest of this video. As the laps started to wind down, it looked like the finish was going to come down to fuel mileage, which would have been an excellent change of pace, given that the previous 4 Clashes ended with last lap crashes. With 10 laps to go, though, it all came crashing down.
Most of the cars have a reserve fuel switch in it, so the guys know about a lap ahead of time when it's going to run out, so they'll fill it sputter, they'll fill that up.
And
Sorry, James.
Kyle Busch almost saved it. He collects Logano, and he's in the wall with Keselowski.
Kyle Busch moves to the inside of Joey Logano, who tries to block. They make contact and careen into the wall, taking Brad Keselowski with them. Joey Logano continues the race, but his teammate isn't so lucky. His reaction perfectly sums up everyone's feelings about the race once it was all over. They would restart with a handful of laps left, and then immediately go right back to yellow.
Then the care center. Ryan Newman came down, and everybody behind piles up.
I saw a lot of rear tire spin on that restart. I think a lot of guys were struggling with grip, and they just started losing control.
Kevin Harvick bumps into William Byron, who bumps into Ryan Newman, causing a chain reaction that sends a dozen cars sliding into the infield, Erik Jones among them. A mind-bogglingly stupid crash. It doesn't end there, though. The stupidity continues with 2 laps to go.
Almost turned him again.
Man, this is wild back here on the back straightaway. Got Boyer giving a big,
Hamlin
goes around. I bet that fender caused that right rear tire to go down. Logano in it again. This one's going to take the 48 of Jimmy Johnson out this time.
Denny Hamlin cuts down a tire while leading and collects another dozen cars, including Erik Jones. With just 7 cars now on track, the race restarts in overtime. They do not make it to the white flag.
That outside lane's materializing pretty good. Big run. Chase Elliott, trying to get to the outside of the 42 at Kyle Larson.
Whoa, down to the bottom, and they touch.
Another wreck. Goodness gracious.
Kyle Larson puts a bad block on Chase Elliott, sending Larson spinning and Elliott into the wall. Poor Erik Jones also gets collected. Another overtime ensues. Thankfully, the final one. This race was such a frustrating watch that even the commentators were starting to get sick of it.
If they take the white flag under green, oh please, then the next flag will end the race.
It is now a 6-car dogfight for the race win, and you'd never guess who ended up taking the checkered flag.
Erik Jones is going to win the Busch Clash with a car that's ready for the dumpster.
Erik Jones, with the most damaged car in the race, involved in all but one of the 4 wrecks, won the 2020 Busch Clash, the proverbial cherry on top of the shit sundae. This race was heavily panned by fans, journalists, and critics alike, dubbing it the Busch Clash, an appropriate nickname for this absolute wreckfest. NASCAR, to its credit, heard the criticism and decided to make a change. For 2021, the Clash would now be run on the infield road course on a Tuesday night for some reason. It had something to do with Super Bowl scheduling for that year. It's a whole can of worms that I do not want to open. Anyway, this race was also rather uneventful, apart from an exciting finish between Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott for the win. Other than that, it was your average run-of-the-mill road course race. It would prove to be the last Clash held at the Daytona International Speedway, as in 2022, the race would be moved to a quarter-mile bull ring in the LA Coliseum. The Clash would call this venue home for the next 2 years until being moved again in 2025 to Bowman Gray Stadium, where it still held the day. The 2026 running of the event was marred by constant weather delays. Initially, the race was postponed to Monday, but NASCAR would eventually be forced to postpone it again to the following Wednesday, and they finally got the race in that Wednesday, but not without shenanigans. The race was an absolute shit show, and it left a sour taste in the mouths of many NASCAR fans, some of which have now begun advocating for the Clash to return to Daytona. But harsh memories of the 2020 Clash still loom. This race will go down as not only one of the worst races in NASCAR history, but as the race that killed the Clash at Daytona. Thank you all so much for watching. That's it for me. Peace.